So a lot of people believe the movie Duel. Of course, Steven Spielberg directed it. One of the greatest TV movies of all time is a perfect mesh of writer and director or presenter, based on a Richard Matheson story that was officially published in an April '71 issue of Playboy magazine and was filmed less than 2 weeks, just a few months later. Now, this came after Spielberg, who had shown up on the set of the Night Gallery movie to direct Eyes by Joan Crawford, was summarily fired either once or twice by the creators of Night Gallery, Jack Lord specifically, for really dropping the ball on the episode Make Me Laugh and allegedly on the short A Matter of Semantics, where he wasn't appreciated by many. For the five people out there that don't know the plot of Duel, it stars the great Dennis Weaver, himself, McLeod, and Twilight Zone veteran, and various key movies in the 50s and 60s, being stalked, or might as well say Karened, by a rampant oil tanker driver in the Mojave Desert. The basic plot is he passes him, gets cut off, and there's a duel literally between the driver of the semi and Weaver, where basically the guy in the Weaver is so mad at him for passing him, he's basically torturing him on the highway. Now the plot is very specific. He has to stay on the road to make the plot work. Well, he's a salesman trying to get home in due course to a wife he had fought with previously. Now, Richard Matheson, again, adapted the script from his own short story. And he got the inspiration for it when he was tailgated by a trucker while on his way home from a golfing match in Fillmore with a friend Jerry Soule on November 22nd, 63, the same day as the JFK assassination. After a series of unsuccessful attempts to pitch the idea as an episode for various television series, he decided to write it his own as a short story. In prep for writing it, he drove from his home to Ventura and recorded everything he saw on a tape recorder. The original short story was given to Spielberg by his secretary, Nona Tyson, who told him that it was being made a movie in a week for ABC, with producer George Eckstein, and suggested he apply to the director. She told Spielberg to read the story, which he liked. Duel was Spielberg's second feature-length directing effort after LA 2017, a 71-episode of the NBC TV series The Name of the Game. Spielberg showed Eckstein a rough cut of the work of Murder by the Book, an episode of Columbo that had not yet aired. It aired on September 15, 1971, 2 months before the release of Duel. Now, the movie was filmed in and around the communities of Canyon County, Agua Dulce, and Acton, California. Now, Spielberg insisting on shooting outside, contrary to requests of unit production manager Wallace Worsley, who felt that the film could not be shot efficiently on the budget that time provided. As a compromise, he allowed Spielberg to start the filming on location for the first 3 days to see if it really could be done on an efficient level. And of course, the rest is history. To help with plotting, he made an overhead map to help plot camera shots out. Many of the landmarks from Duel still exist today, including the infamous tunnel, the railroad crossing, and Chuck's Cafe, where a man stops for a break and allegedly confronts the mystery driver. Now, production of the TV film, which was shown on ABC, was his director of movies of the week, Lillian Gallo. Filming was completed in 13 days, 3 longer than the scheduled, leaving 10 days for editing prior to broadcast. Now, Spielberg had lobbied for Weaver to star in the movie because he admired his work in Orson Welles' Touch of Evil. Weaver repeats one of his lines of Touch of Evil in Duel, telling the truck driver at the cafe that he has another thing coming. Now, interview of Weaver for the Archive of American Television, Spielberg said, I watch that movie at least twice a year to remember what I did. Now, for a lot of people, that's considered Spielberg's treatise of what he wanted in the directing movies. A lot of good cuts. The cine is very strong. Now, why this didn't show up on NBC, even though it was Universal production, because, again, Spielberg had burned a lot of bridges on Night Gallery, and people don't talk about it anymore, but he was down, not say to his lowest, but it was pretty bad. Now, the movie itself was initially shown as an installment of the ABC movie of the week, and it was the 18th highest rated TV movie of the year with a Nielsen of 20.9 and an audience share of 33%. So 1 in 3 Americans were watching the movie. Now, because NBC Universal saw a lot of potential in the film, following with successful broadcasts, Universal decided to release the film theatrical in Europe and in other sundry nations. At 74 minutes, however, was not long enough for this purpose. So Universal had Spielberg spend 2 days filming several new scenes to expand it to 90 minutes. A longer opening sequence is added with the car backing out of the garage and driving through the city. Additional scenes shot to lengthen the movie, including man's conversation with his wife, the encounter with a broken down school bus, and a confrontation at the railroad crossing. His speeders were also added to make the film sound less like a TV production. The full-length film, was released in Europe and Australia and had a limited release in the States and Canada. Duel's success enabled Spielberg to again establish himself as a movie director. Now, the theatrical version of Duel has been issued on various formats in the US by MCA and its successor Universal, with many other countries having similar releases. It was released on Laserdisc twice, in 1979 in MCA's DiscoVision, yes, that's what it's called, and MC Universal Home Video in 93. It was also on VHS twice, in 82 on MCA, and again in 1990 by MC Universal. First released on DVD by Universal in 2004, it was a full-frame collector's edition. It was also scheduled for a widescreen collector's edition DVD on May 21st, 2002, but was delayed and ultimately unreleased. The film was released on Blu-ray on October 14, 2014, as part of the 8-film box set Steven Spielberg Director's Collection. It also had a standalone Blu-ray release on May 5th, 2015. Now, a 4K release by Universal, including the original TV version, is due for the Christmas release this year. Rumor has it it's coming out in November 2023. Now, if you look at the Hollywood Suite in Canada, I think that restored version will be what you're seeing. Now, it's a very high rating, 89% on 45 reviews on Rotten Tomatoes, with an average rating of pretty well 8 out of 10. Now, the symbolism of this movie, when does common courtesy start and when does ego on the road end? We see more road rage in the last decade because of what I call the Trump generation in the States and Canada, where people think they own the roads. But when you're looking at Duel today, driving from Woodstock to my home in Canterbury, New Brunswick, we had a motorcyclist doing 165 kilometers an hour going through traffic like he owned a highway. That's only part of it. There's a lot of ego on the road, but for some reason, and this has been parried in different stuff, from Bod's Burgers to various fun and comedy routines. It's always a smaller vehicle versus a big transport driver. Transports in New Brunswick do not follow the speed limit anymore, so you're taking their life at risk. And heaven to Murgatroyd, if you pass a truck on the highway where they're speeding, you're trying to get away to the danger, you're in trouble. But Dennis Weaver deserved an acting Emmy for this, but I think they had seen him be so good in so many performances. Oh, it's Dennis Weaver's going to have a good performance. But it's very interesting how he plays the part. He doesn't play it as a victim. He plays it like an entitled person, but not to a level of a 10. It's more like a 7. He's got places to go, and he felt he was disrespected. And he doesn't really realize, because his brain's other place, because of the fight he had with his wife, this could be a dangerous situation. And it comes to a point where basically he's his own victim in a way, because if he would have just backed off. But it seems like the type of person where he's had instances before where he's been victorious for not backing off, and Spielberg kind of touches about that a little bit. So just to recount, ladies and gentlemen, for the Emmy for sound editing, by the way, just to recap, written by Matheson, directed by Spielberg, composer of music Billy Goldenberg, very underrated. Producer was George Eckstein, cinematography Jack A. Marta, editor Frank Morris, 2 S's, and again, only $450,000, which was pretty good money at the time, which would be comparable to 10 or 20 million now. So for me, I give Duel 5 out of 5. Not that it's the greatest Spielberg movie, because Schindler's List is pretty well tops, but the idea of Dennis Weaver as, a shotgun hero, like I said, Glenn Ford would have done good at this. Only Glenn Ford and Dennis Weaver, I think, would have done a great job. So if you like what we're doing here with a vintage podcast, let us know.